The president of the European Commission opened up on the meeting he had in July with the U.S. president. Speaking about his trip to Washington, Mr. Juncker said on Monday he spent 6 hours with Trump discussing trade at the peak of the tensions between the EU and the U.S. Their talks ended with an agreement on holding off on further tariffs, which meant good news for many exporters, in particular the German car industry, which would have been heavily sanctioned by a trade war 2 days before. Trump still said he would slap tariffs on imports of European cars, but thank goodness he didn't do that. Jean-Claude Juncker. Mr. Juncker said, "It was a very competitive event, pretty rough from time to time. It was no fun, no entertainment, but there is no new trade war between the US and Europe." 2 days before, Trump still said he would slap tariffs on imports of European cars, but thank goodness he didn't do that. Following their trade talks in July, Mr. Juncker revealed he had agreed for Europe to import more U.S. soybean and facilitate imports of liquefied natural gas. In exchange, Mr. Trump would not keep up with his promise to curb European exports. Jean-Claude Juncker revealed he was relieved when Donald Trump didn't issue tariffs on German cars. Image, Getty. The U.S. president started waging tariffs targeting the EU on March 1, when he announced the introduction of a 25% tax on steel imports and a 10% tariff on aluminum. 2 days later, Mr. Juncker announced the possibility of introducing retaliatory measures against U.S. products, including Kentucky bourbon, Levi jeans and iconic Harley-Davidson vehicles. Mr. Trump replied tit for tat, warning an EU retaliation would spark higher tariffs on European cars. He said, if the EU wants to further increase their already massive tariffs and barriers on U.S. companies doing business there, we will simply apply a tax on their cars which freely pour into the U.S. Jean-Claude Juncker and Donald Trump met in Washington in July. Image, Getty. They make it impossible for our cars and more to sell there. Big trade imbalance. Mr. Trump has deemed Europe's auto sector trade in the U.S. unfair for a long time. In January 2017, prior to his inauguration, the then president-elect said in an interview, "When you walk down Fifth Avenue, everyone has a Mercedes-Benz in front of their house." Read more. U.S. trade war. Trump ready to ban German cars from U.S. bombshell report. Jean-Claude Juncker and Donald Trump in Washington. Image, Getty. How many Chevrolets do you see in Germany? Not too many, maybe none at all. You do not see anything over there. It's a one-way street. I love free trade, but it must be a smart trade for me to call it fair. German carmakers sold 1.35 million vehicles in the U.S. in 2017, about 8% of the total car sales in the country.